The wind of the dead world sang through broken towers. Gray dust moved like ghosts between the ruins. Sergeant Elias King stood on the edge of a shattered bridge, his rifle steady, eyes scanning the horizon that never stopped bleeding light. He had been on duty for 72 hours, guarding a city that no longer had people to protect. The war had ended 2 years ago. At least that's what Command kept saying. But monsters still moved at night. Elias had seen things that didn't belong to any map. Shadows that whispered his name. Stars that pulsed when he stared too long. He told himself it was just exhaustion. But tonight, the air felt wrong. Too quiet. Too alive. A sound came soft, like a sigh from the dark. He turned his rifle toward the noise. A figure stood where the light failed. Not human. Not fully alien either. She wore fragments of silver armor and a long black cloak that shimmered like oil in the moonlight. Her skin glowed faintly blue, her eyes brighter than any weapon charge. "You shouldn't be here," Elias said. His voice was calm, but his finger brushed the trigger out of habit. The woman tilted her head. "Neither should you, human." Her voice was music and threat at the same time. Elias kept his stance. "Identify yourself?" She smiled slowly, almost sadly. "I am called Raven." He had heard that name before. A myth among soldiers. The half-blood seer who crossed between dreams and reality. Some said she was a spy. Others said she was already dead. "What do you want?" he asked. Raven walked closer, stepped silent on the cracked concrete. "To warn you about what?" "The storm coming," she said. "The one that starts inside your mind." Elias frowned. "You think I believe in prophecy?" "You don't have to believe," she said softly. "You only have to listen." A cold wind rolled between them. Somewhere far off, thunder cracked, but there were no clouds in the sky. Raven lifted her hand. Light formed around her fingers, shaping into symbols Elias didn't understand ancient, shifting alive. "These marks," she whispered, "are appearing across the outer colonies. Each time they do, someone disappears. Human, alien, it doesn't matter. The void takes them." Elias wanted to dismiss it, but her eyes held something he couldn't ignore. Fear. Real fear. "Why tell me?" "Because you are already marked," she said. His stomach tightened. "Explain." Raven reached out and touched his wrist. Beneath his combat sleeve, light flickered thin blue lines under his skin, like veins made of static. Elias jerked his arm away, but the glow didn't vanish. "What the hell?" "It's the beginning," Raven said. "Dreams will call to you. Do not answer." "I don't dream." "Then you're already too late." Her words hit him like a punch. Before he could respond, the air rippled waves of distortion, bending light around her. He raised his rifle, but she was gone. Only her voice lingered, echoing from nowhere and everywhere. "Find the ship named Midnight Voyager. It waits for you beyond the dunes. If you don't leave this world by dawn, you will never wake again." Silence swallowed the ruin. Elias lowered his weapon slowly. His heartbeat felt like a drum inside a vacuum suit. He looked down at his wrist. The glow was fading, but the skin felt hot, alive, almost breathing. He thought of reporting it to Command. Then he remembered what happened to soldiers who mentioned hallucinations. They vanished. Transferred. The reports always said the horizon shimmered again. For a moment, he thought he saw her standing far away, her cloak spread like wings. Then only dust. He exhaled hard, rubbing his temple. "Dreams," he muttered. "Right." But that night, when he finally sat inside the half-working bunker and closed his eyes, he didn't find sleep. He fell. He fell into a corridor made of stars. Raven stood ahead of him, glowing brighter than any sun. "It begins," she said. adrift into dreams. Then she reached toward him, her hand soft, her voice a whisper between worlds. "Take me, human." Elias woke with a start, sweat cold on his neck, his rifle in his hands again. The bunker alarms were silent, but something in the dark outside was moving. Watching, waiting got, and when he looked down, his wrist still glowed. The desert before dawn looked like another planet. Ash dunes stretched for miles, glowing faintly under the twin moons. Sergeant Elias Kane moved through the silence with his rifle ready, his boots crunching on glass dust. Every few minutes he looked at his wrist. The faint blue mark still pulsed like a heartbeat under his skin. He had told himself it was just radiation, some chemical reaction from the battlefield, but deep down he knew better. The voice from his dream still echoed. Find the ship named Midnight, Voyager. He reached the edge of the ruins where the dead city met open desert. His visor display showed nothing alive within 20 kilometers, yet he felt eyes on him. Wind carried a whisper across the dunes, words he couldn't understand, but somehow recognized. Then he saw it, half buried in sand, like a creature sleeping, was a ship sleek, black, and wrong. It looked Terran in shape, but alien in its skin. The hull shimmered with colors that weren't colors at all, bending the light around them. Midnight Voyager. The name was carved near the broken airlock, in letters that seemed to fade when he looked. Directly at them, Elias raised his rifle and circled the wreck. "If anyone's inside, respond," he called. Nothing. Only the soft hum of power still alive somewhere in its heart. Against his better judgment, he stepped closer. The sand under his boots vibrated. The door slid open on its own. Inside, the air was cold and smelled like ozone and memory. Dim lights flickered to life as he entered, showing walls lined with strange markings, the same symbols he had seen glow on Raven's hand. His chest tightened. "What are you, ship?" he muttered. The corridor stretched ahead like a throat, and in the middle of it stood a figure female, tall, shadowed. "Raven," he said quietly. She turned. The same silver armor, the same eyes like stars reflected in dark water. "You came?" she said softly. "I don't take orders from ghosts." "I'm no ghost." Her voice trembled slightly. "I am what remains of what was human, and what tried not to be." Elias lowered his rifle a little. "You said I was marked. You said dreams would call me. They already are." She touched a wall, and light flowed from her palm into the metal. The ship responded humming, breathing. The Voyager connects minds. It searches for dreamers strong enough to carry it through the void. You are one. I'm a soldier, not a dreamer. Raven smiled faintly. That's why it chose you. He wanted to walk away, to call in command, to pretend none of this existed. But the air itself seemed alive, pressing against him with quiet hunger. Why me? He asked again. Because you've already died once, she whispered. Elias froze. What did you say? She stepped closer, her eyes soft now. Your file says you were lost in the siege of Arebo Station. Your shuttle exploded. Yet here you are, breathing dust on a world that shouldn't exist. Don't you ever wonder why? He stared at her, heartbeat thudding in his throat. I survived. I was found. No, she said gently. You were retrieved. The Voyager brought you back. You are one of its echoes. The corridor lights dimmed, then brightened again. Something deep within the ship groaned, like an old creature stretching its bones. Elias gripped his rifle tighter. Enough riddles. Tell me what's happening. Raven reached out slowly, her hand trembling just before it touched his chest. The drift is opening again. The line between dream and world is breaking. If you stay here, it will consume you. If you come with me, we might stop it. He looked at her hand, at the faint shimmer of heat between them. Every part of him wanted to step back, but his wrist burned again, brighter now, lines crawling up his arm like living fire. The ship's hum grew louder. Symbols on the walls flared to life. "Choose, Elias," Raven said. "Dream or duty?" He took a deep breath, eyes locked on hers. "Duty. Then you'll have to face what your duty truly is." Before he could answer, the ship shuddered violently. The floor tilted, alarms screamed in alien tones, and light poured through cracks in the hull. Outside, the desert sky split open dark clouds forming from nowhere, lightning arcing across moons. Raven grabbed his arm. "It's starting." "The drift is waking." Elias pulled free and raised his rifle toward the ceiling, as if he could shoot the storm itself. "Then we fight it." Her expression softened. "Always the human way." The ship groaned again, metal bending under unseen pressure. Raven ran toward the control room, shouting over the noise. "Follow me if you want to live." He hesitated only a second before running after her. Inside the cockpit, glass displays flickered with star maps that kept changing shape. The console pulsed like a heartbeat. Raven slammed her hand down, and the ship roared alive, engines glowing a color that didn't exist. Elias stumbled into the co-pilot's seat. "We can't fly, half the hull's gone." "We're not flying," she said. "We're crossing." "Crossing what?" She looked at him, eyes full of both fear and wonder. "Dreams." The world outside tore open in light. The midnight Voyager lifted from the sand, silent and smooth, vanishing into the storm dot somewhere behind them. The ruins of the dead world cracked apart, and the whispering voices began to scream. The world outside the ship disappeared. There was no sky, no ground, only color and sound twisting together like smoke made of light. Sergeant Elias Kane gripped the edge of his seat as gravity vanished. The midnight Voyager drifted through something that was not space, not dream something in between. Every few seconds, the stars outside bent into faces, voices, shapes that whispered his name, and then dissolved again. "Where are we?" He shouted. Raven's hands danced over the glowing controls. "Between realities." The drift. It connects minds, memories, and the past. Elias stared at the window. Shapes moved out there, silhouettes of people walking upside down, floating cities built from fragments of broken planets. His stomach twisted. "You said this ship connects dreams. So what happens if we wake up?" "Then the drift collapses," she said, "and everything inside it dies." The ship shuddered again. A low hum filled the cabin, like something breathing too close. Raven frowned. "Something's following us." Elias tightened his grip on the rifle. "Something? You mean someone?" She didn't answer. The lights flickered. The hum turned into a pulse. It was coming from the darkness outside, massive, slow, alive. Raven closed her eyes, her voice barely a whisper. "The echo. What's that?" "The drift's shadow. Every dreamer leaves a trace. Every trace becomes a hunger. The echo feeds on lost memories. Can we fight it?" "You can't shoot what isn't real." "Try me." Elias stood, scanning the corridor beyond the cockpit. The air felt heavy, charged. The walls themselves seemed to breathe. He heard faint whispers, words he almost recognized. Elias ... Remember ... He moved forward carefully. The ship's interior changed as he walked corridors bending, lights forming shapes like veins. He passed a mirror panel and froze. His reflection wasn't moving with him. It stood still, staring, then smiled. He raised his rifle. Not funny. The reflection lifted its weapon, too, and its eyes turned black. The mirror cracked. "Raven!" He shouted, firing once. The glass shattered, scattering into silver mist that hissed and vanished. Raven ran toward him. "It's breaching the boundary." Don't engage it directly. It already engaged me. She pressed a hand against the wall. Blue light spread, sealing the crack. The echo can imitate us. It uses memories like doors. Elias looked down, breathing hard. It knew my name. It knows everyone who has ever dreamed. He stared at her. And it knows you too. She met his gaze, and for a moment there was something raw in her eyes. It made me once. I was part of it. That's why I can lead you through. He didn't know what to say. The idea of her being half real, half something else should have terrified him, but it didn't. Instead, it made him want to understand. So, what's the plan? He asked finally. The Voyager will reach the center of the drift soon. There's a signal there, a beacon left by your kind before the wars. If we can reach it, maybe it will anchor the ship back to reality. And if we don't? She looked at him with a faint smile. Then we drift forever. The ship tilted suddenly. Both of them stumbled. Outside, the fog of colors twisted into a massive shape, a face the size of a planet, made of thousands of screaming voices. The echo, it pressed against the ship's shield, warping the hull. Elias! Raven cried. Power to the core now. He didn't understand the controls, but his instincts kicked in. He slammed a switch that glowed red. The ship roared, light bursting through the floor. The echo screamed a sound that rattled every bone in his body. Hold it steady. Raven shouted, trying. The lights flickered again. Raven grabbed his arm, eyes wide. Don't listen to what it says. But he already heard it. The voice wasn't outside anymore. It was inside his head. You died once, Elias. Let go. Rest. You don't belong here. His vision blurred. He saw flashes his shuttle exploding, his crewmates screaming, the cold vacuum swallowing everything. He felt himself falling again. Elias! Raven's voice broke through, sharp and desperate. She slammed her palm to his chest, sending a pulse of energy through him. The illusion shattered. He gasped, falling to his knees. I saw it. My death. It's feeding, Raven said softly. It uses your pain as fuel. That's how it grows. He looked up at her, anger flaring through the fear. Then I'll starve it. She nodded once. Then we keep moving. They reached the bridge again. The drift outside churned faster, stars spiraling into a tunnel of light. Raven placed both hands on the console. Almost there. Elias watched her. Her expression was calm, but her skin flickered between solid and translucent, as if she were fading. You're losing form, he said quietly. I told you, she whispered. The echo made me. The closer we get, the less of me stays? No, he said firmly. You're staying. You brought me here. You finish this. Raven smiled faintly. Humans, always trying to save what they don't understand. He met her gaze. Maybe that's what makes us human. The ship lurched forward, light swallowing everything. The echo's scream echoed through space like a dying god. And then silence. Elias blinked. They were floating above a calm sea of stars, quiet and endless. A single beacon glowed in the distance, a small, steady light. Raven exhaled. We made it. Elias lowered his rifle slowly. What now? She turned toward him, eyes glowing soft gold now instead of blue. Now we remember who you really are. Before he could speak, her form dissolved into light and drifted into him like dust on wind. The ship lights dimmed. A voice whispered inside his minders. Don't be afraid. Elias, you've carried my echo all along. And then the Midnight Voyager began to change course toward the beacon, toward something neither of them could name. The stars outside the Midnight Voyager no longer looked real. They hung like frozen sparks in an ocean of black glass. Sergeant Elias Kane sat in the pilot's seat, breathing hard, his hands trembling slightly. The voice in his head, Raven's voice, was calm now, echoing softly inside his mind. "You're safe for now," she said. "The echo cannot follow this far." Elias stared at the single light ahead, the beacon. It pulsed gently, calling to him like a heartbeat in space. "What is it?" He whispered aloud. "A memory," Raven replied. "Left behind by those who crossed before you. The closer they drifted, the clearer the light became. It wasn't a machine or a tower. It was a sphere of pure energy, made of thousands of tiny lights swirling together. Faces flickered inside it, human, alien, some too strange to name. All looked peaceful, asleep. Souls? He asked quietly. "Echoes," Raven said. "Dreamers who never woke. The drift keeps what it touches." He felt a chill. "You said we'd find a way home. Not this. There is no home without memory, Elias. You've forgotten who you were." Elias frowned, tightening his grip on the controls. "I'm a soldier. I know who I am. Do you?" The beacon flared suddenly. The ship shook. Alarms blinked red. Outside, tendrils of light reached for them like hands. "Raven!" Elias shouted. "Don't fight it," she said. "It's showing you the truth." Before he could react, the light consumed him. The cockpit vanished. He was standing in another, place bright, endless, like being inside a sunbeam. He saw himself, years younger, without scars, without armor. Around him were other soldiers laughing, planning a rescue. A woman with short dark hair kissed his cheek and said, "Come back, Eli." He remembered her name now, Maeve. His wife, he gasped. "No, she died in the blast." "No," Raven's voice whispered through the light. "You both did." The scene shifted. He saw the shuttle again, on fire, spinning out of orbit. He remembered trying to reach the escape pod, the explosion, the silence after. Then something else. A feeling like falling through water, and then a voice calling him from the dark. "Elias Kane," it had said. "Dreamer detected." Suitable host confirmed. He fell to his knees. "You mean I'm not even alive?" Raven appeared before him, her body now made of light and shadow. "The Voyager found what was left of you, your pattern, your consciousness. It rebuilt you in the drift." He shook his head. "Then why bring me here? Why make me remember all this?" "Because the echo grows with every lost soul. If we anchor your memory to the beacon, it will stop feeding. The drift will close. And what happens to me?" She hesitated. "You'll fade, like I did." He stood, anger and sorrow twisting inside him. "So this was the plan all along? Use me like a weapon, then erase me?" Raven stepped closer, her expression full of quiet grief. "You were never a weapon, Elias. You were hope. The only human the Voyager found who still chose duty over desire. Even in death." He stared at her. "You used that against me." "No," she whispered. "I believed in it." The light of the beacon grew stronger. The ship groaned around them. Reality bent like soft metal. Raven's form flickered again, nearly gone. "You have to do it," she said. "Touch the beacon. Let it remember you. End this." Elias clenched his fists. "And you?" "I'm already part of it. The Voyager was my body once. I was its voice, until the echo broke me apart." He looked at her fading face, the way her eyes still glowed like stars. "You saved me. You saved yourself. I just showed you how." He stepped toward the beacon. Each step felt like walking through thick air. The faces within the light turned toward him, smiling, welcoming. He felt warmth, peace, the weight of years lifting. He turned one last time. Raven stood at the edge of the light, her form dissolving into threads. "Raven," he said quietly, Come with me." Her smile was faint, beautiful, and full of sorrow. "I already am." Elias reached out and touched the beacon. A rush of memory flooded through him. Every battle, every friend, every loss, every heartbeat he thought he'd never feel again. He saw Earth. He saw Maeve's smile. He saw Raven's eyes one last time before everything turned to light. The midnight Voyager glowed brighter and brighter, until it became a star among the void. And then silence, light, endless and quiet. Elias Kane floated in it like dust caught in a beam of morning sun. No sound of battle, no rifle in his hands, only warmth and stillness. For the first time since the war, he felt no weight on his shoulders. He opened his eyes slowly. Beneath him stretched a sea of silver clouds, and above an endless sky filled with drifting fragments of memory. Each one glowed faintly, showing faces, moments, and worlds. Some were human, some alien, all lost to the drift. A soft voice came from everywhere at once. "You did it, Elias, Raven?" He whispered. "Yes," she said, her tone lighter now, free of the echo that once haunted it. "The beacon is stable. The echo is gone. The drift will fade, slowly, peacefully." Elias sat on the invisible surface, watching the memory swirl. "So this is death?" "Not death," Raven answered. "Rest." He smiled faintly. "Feels like peace. Haven't known that word in years." "You earned it." He looked around. "And the others? The souls the drift kept?" "Freed. They'll return to what waits beyond the dream. Their echoes will fade into quiet stars." He closed his eyes. "Good." For a long moment there was silence. Then he asked softly, "What happens to me?" "That depends on what you still want," Raven said. "You can let go. Or you can wake." Elias frowned. "Wake? You said I died." "Your body did. But the Voyager still carries your pattern. The ship remembers you, just like I did. If you will it, it can rebuild you." He laughed quietly, shaking his head. "Back to duty, huh?" "Back to choice," she corrected. "This time you choose for yourself." He looked out over the drifting light, thinking of the endless war, the soldiers who never came home, the people who still fought because they didn't know how to stop. Maybe they needed one more human to remind them what compassion looked like. He stood slowly. "Raven, come with me." The air shimmered, and she appeared before him, half light, half shadow, her cloak like starlight flowing in slow motion. "I can't take a body again," she said gently, "but I can guide you as long as you remember me." "And I'll remember," Elias said firmly. "Every day." She smiled. "Then wake human. The galaxy still needs someone who refuses to turn away." The light around him thickened. The clouds parted, showing a horizon of fire and dawn. Wind rushed past his face. He felt gravity again, heartbeat again. His eyes opened. He was lying on the bridge of the midnight Voyager. Systems hummed softly. Outside, through the viewport, a real sun burned warm, golden, alive. Not the cold shimmer of the drift. He sat up slowly. His hands were solid, scarred, human. His wrist no longer glowed. "Raven?" he said. No answer. Just the gentle vibration of the ship. Then the console flickered, and words appeared in soft blue light. "Welcome back, Elias Kane. Mission, continue the dream," he exhaled, a shaky laugh breaking through his chest. "Yeah, that sounds like her." Outside the viewport, a small planet turned slowly a blue-green world untouched by war. The ship drifted toward it. Elias reached for the controls. "All right then," he said quietly. "Let's finish what we started." The engines came alive, glowing soft gold, the same color as Raven's eyes before she vanished. The ship responded like it remembered him too. As the Voyager entered the atmosphere, Elias felt warmth flood his chest. He didn't know what he would find below a colony, survivors, or maybe nothing at all, but it didn't matter. He had something more powerful than orders now. Purpose. For a moment, he thought he heard her voice again, whispering through the static of the comms. "Take care of them, human." "Dream for both of us, Dot," he smiled, looking out at the rising horizon. "Always." The ship broke through the clouds, sunlight spilling across the cockpit. Below, an ocean glimmered like liquid glass, and on the far shore, green hills rose under a bright new sky. Elias set the landing course. His reflection in the window looked older, wiser, but alive. Behind that reflection, for the briefest second, another face appeared, hers smiling, faintly before fading with the light. He whispered the words he never got to say before. "Thank you, Raven." The Voyager's shadow touched the sea. Waves rippled outward, and the world welcomed him home. Above the planet, the drift began to dissolve, its last fragments scattering into starlight. And far beyond, where forgotten dreams once screamed, there was only silence. Peace, human peace. The sun climbed slowly over the horizon of the new world. Gold light washed across the ocean and the hull of the midnight Voyager, turning its dark metal warm for the first time in years. Sergeant Elias Kane stood on the sand, boots sinking into soft earth that smelled of rain and life. The wind here didn't taste like dust or fire. It smelled clean. Alive, he looked up at the ship resting on the beach behind him. For a long moment, he just listened to waves, to gull-like creatures calling in the distance, to his own heartbeat proving he was still here. "New world," he whispered. "New start." Inside the ship, the lights flickered. The main console glowed and text scrolled across the cracked screen. "New Dawn Protocol active. Preserve life/restore human network." Elias stepped closer, reading the words slowly. "Restore human network. What does that mean, Raven?" No voice answered, but he felt her presence soft, like a breeze through an open door. "It means begin again." He smiled faintly. "Begin again, huh? After everything we lost?" "Not lost," her voice said inside his mind. "Remembered. That's how we build forward." He nodded. "And let's build." He spent the first day exploring. The air was breathable, the gravity close to Earth's. Small plants grew along the shore, their leaves shimmering with faint bioluminescence. The sky changed color with the tide from blue to silver to soft violet. When night came, 2 moons rose together, and the world hummed gently, like a song sung by the sea itself. Elias set up camp near the ship. A fire burned bright against the twilight. He cooked a ration meal, old, tasteless, but warm, and watched the stars. The drift was gone now, but its echoes glimmered faintly in the upper sky, like dust of broken dreams. He spoke quietly to the empty air. "Raven, if you can hear me, this place." "It's beautiful." "I can hear you," she whispered. "And yes, it is." He smiled. "Feels empty, though." "Not for long," she said. The next morning, the ship's sensors came alive. Elias hurried inside. On the display was a cluster of small signals, metallic, steady, moving slowly across the planet's surface. "Rescue pods?" he asked. "Wreckage," Raven answered. "Some still active. Life signs detected." Elias's heart leapt. "Survivors?" "Possibly." The drift sometimes released fragments of what it kept. He grabbed his pack and rifle out of habit, then paused and looked at the weapon. For a moment he hesitated, then set it down on the console. "Not this time," he said softly. He climbed into a hover transport and headed inland, guided by Raven's voice through the comms. The landscape shifted from beach to wide green plains. Giant trees rose like towers of glass and silk. Rivers shimmered under the light of the twin suns. After 2 hours, he saw smoke, a thin gray line against the horizon. He approached carefully. In a shallow valley lay 3 escape pods, half buried in soil. One door was open. He jumped down and ran. Inside, he found 2 humans thin, unconscious but breathing. A third figure stirred, a woman with dark hair, streaked with silver. Her eyes opened slowly, confused, afraid. "Easy," Elias said, kneeling beside her. "You're safe. I'm here to help." She blinked at him, trying to focus. "Where are we?" He smiled. "Home, I think." Her gaze softened. "Who are you?" He hesitated, then said, "Just another dreamer who woke up." She gave a faint smile before falling back asleep. Elias looked up at the sky. "You see this, Raven?" He murmured, "People. Real people." "Yes," her voice answered gently. "The new dawn begins with one act of mercy." He carried the survivors back to the ship. Medical pods opened, humming to life. Systems he thought were dead now responded to his touch. The ship almost seemed happy alive again. Days passed. The survivors healed. They spoke little at first, haunted by fragments of memory dreams of war, fire, and a voice calling them back. Elias told them what he knew, though not everything. Some truths were too strange to speak yet. One evening, while watching the sunset, one of them asked quietly, "Do you think others will find us?" Elias looked toward the horizon, where faint streaks of light crossed the sky. Stars, he thought, but maybe more ships, maybe other echoes waking to life. "Yeah," he said softly. "I think they already are." The woman with dark hair sat beside him. "What do we call this place?" Elias thought for a moment, remembering the long journey, the ship, and the whisper that had guided him through death itself. He smiled. Raven's Rest. Behind them, the midnight Voyager hummed in approval, its lights glowing gold in the twilight dot as the night fell. Elias looked up once more. The drift was gone, but in the distance, beyond stars and silence, a faint shimmer of light moved like a heartbeat. He closed his eyes. "You're still out there, aren't you?" "Always," her voice whispered in his mind. "Dreams never die, Elias. They just find new dreamers." The waves rolled softly against the shore. The humans gathered near the fire, laughing quietly, alive. The first human colony on Raven's Rest had begun, and above them, the midnight Voyager blinked like a guardian star, watching over the world it had helped to save. The age of the drift was over. The age of the dreamers had begun.